If you're constantly saying, I just need more time, I just need more time, but your to-do list is still knocking you out at the end of each day, then you need to hear this. And no, it's not waking up at 5 a.m., a new app, some sort of product that you have to buy. It is just a way of working that is going to change everything for you. So hit that like button down below and let's get right into it. Several years ago, I jumped head first into entrepreneurship and starting my business. And as a solopreneur, meaning the only person in my business, I had to do it all. I had to do the marketing. I had to put together the service offer suite. There was nothing that a business needs to do that I wasn't doing. And I had to make money. At the end of the day, I had bills to pay. I had a mortgage. The clock was literally counting down. But in those early days, even when I was productive, ultimately I still felt behind. I was checking off to-do lists of a ton of stuff that had to be done. I could easily have spent 12 hours a day working with all of the things that needed to be done, but I wasn't making any real progress. But the reality was I was not short on time. I was just spending it wrong. And I know nobody wants to hear this. Everybody just wants to think that they're so busy and that they are not the problem. Ultimately, somehow having 24 hours in a day is a problem. But hear me out. What changed everything was approaching the problem in a different way. Instead of thinking about everything in terms of time and tasks, I started thinking about things in terms of priority. This is literally the way that my mind is wired now, and this is how I do everything, whether it's in my personal life or in my business. Because here's the thing, I can sit here and tell you guys all the tips and tricks about time blocking or how to structure your to-do list, and honestly, I have given you guys all that information before. I will link some resources for you up above and also down below in the description box. But ultimately, none of that matters if you're not focused on the right things at the right time. I could have spent so much time when it came to my business on things like my website, on creating Instagram posts, or a perfect Facebook banner. But guess what? None of that mattered. None of that was the priority. And none of that was moving me closer towards actually making money and making an impact. Why? Because those things were the wrong priority at the wrong time. And what I have found working with a lot of small and medium-sized business owners is that they made the same mistake I made. In fact, I see almost everybody make this mistake. So here's your opportunity to get ahead of the majority. Here's the opportunity to be more productive and be more impactful than most people, because most people won't actually prioritize making this change in their life. So let's talk about this way of working that can completely change everything for you, which is priority-based planning, and what it can look like for you, for your business, for your life. Ultimately, priority-based planning is not possible without understanding something, and that something is where you want to go, what you are trying to achieve, the goal that is in front of you. And some people really struggle to define this for themselves. Let's take it back to me. I could have said, my priority is I want as much visibility as possible. I want to, have 100,000 followers on Instagram because that's what will allow me to have a successful business. But I knew that that wasn't the priority. And if that was the priority, I could have spent 12 hours every single day just creating content, learning new social media tools, reaching out to influencers to try and collaborate with them. But I knew that wasn't the priority. And one thing that I've noticed is when I'm having this discussion with people about prioritization, oftentimes people go about getting to the goal in such a roundabout way. They'll know what the goal is, but instead of just going from A to Z, they will go from A to 2 to 7 to C to D to A. They will not go in the logical order that you think they should be going in. For me, my goals were around revenue. So instead of going about it in a roundabout way, I was just like, I need to get clients. And that's what I did. That became my focus. I went out and I got anywhere from 1 to 3 contracts at a time. And that's what allowed me to hit my revenue goals. That's what allowed me to hit 5 figures in a month. And I was able to prioritize and break down those goals around revenue even further, right? I was able to say, okay, I want at least one contract that's consistent. So I was able to get one that was long-term, over a year, while also working with other clients on a more short-term basis. But ultimately, I knew what the real goal was. So I was then able to structure my days completely differently. What was important to me on a daily and a weekly basis completely changed. So yes, while there were aspects of like, I need a website, I knew that that wasn't a key priority for me. So I spent literally 2 days creating one and then I moved on. Understanding what my goal was, what my overall priorities were, allowed me to break down and really figure out what I needed to be doing on a weekly and on a daily basis that would move the dial, and not just move the dial towards something that wasn't a priority and wasn't a priority at this time, but would move the dial in a way that was meaningful towards something that I actually wanted. So instead of spending my days and my weeks packed just focused on marketing, focused on social media, or focused on networking and attending every single event. Instead, I was able to get really focused on the sorts of relationships that I needed to build and the sort of opportunities I needed to put myself in front of in order to hit my goal. That completely changed everything for me. And I can genuinely say it was the time period in my life where I literally worked the least. I spent at least 3 months of each of the last few years traveling internationally. And even when I wasn't traveling internationally, I worked way less than I ever did when I worked a corporate job. So for me, the result of changing the way I worked to a priority-based planning approach ultimately led to me having way more clarity. I knew what the focus was. I knew what I had to be doing on a daily and weekly basis to move the dial. I had way better boundaries with the clients I was working with, and ultimately I was just able to get so much more out of the time that I did have. If you're finding this video valuable, don't forget to hit that like button down below, and let's talk a little bit about what might be getting in your way. The clearest opportunity I see in terms of how people get in their own way when it comes to getting their time back is that they never pause to actually reflect and reevaluate what's working and what's not working. And instead, they're operating on just brute force, grinding hard in order to move things forward and in order to see progress. And that can really only work for so long, or if you're watching this video, maybe it hasn't worked for you at all. And this is one of those moments that we have to remember that the definition of insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, even if it's not giving you the result that you're looking for. So it's time to do things differently, but a lot of people don't know what or how. And if that's you, I do have a 3-day completely free challenge, link down below in the description box. Over the course of 3 days, you will get prompts that will allow you to audit your business, what's working, what's not working. And at the end of the challenge, you should have a very clear idea of what your priorities are and the sorts of things that you need to drop. This video is your wake-up call that you don't need to be waking up at 5 a.m. You don't need to be buying a million different apps and productivity tools. You need to first start off by asking yourself what matters. Asking yourself that question is the first step in unlocking more time and more freedom for yourself. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.